All right, so it's been a month. This manual is dog-eared. I've gone through every single setting this inverter has, and I have got my conclusion ready for you guys. 9 out of 10. Now, let me explain. All right, guys, the day's come. Finally here. Renogy actually shipped us pretty damn quick. We've got ourselves our new inverter. I'm really excited about this because I think this is very applicable to many of you as well as to me, is that a lot of us are looking, there are like really expensive, really nice inverters out there. There's also really expensive, really trash inverters out there like the one I had. This is a pretty decent inverter, a modern inverter very importantly, and very affordable. You can regularly find this inverter down in the $700 range with coupons and discounts, and all the other inverters are $1,200 or more. My particular inverter was $2,500, and so I am excited to see how much more I get for way less money. So first and foremost, packaging is nothing to write home about. Renogy is kind of known for very basic packaging. They brand the cardboard box that it comes in. There's no secondary box inside. Or Renogy's not known for wasting any money on something that you're just going to toss out. That being said, nice big foam bumpers. I have no worries about it getting damaged in shipping. And how big is this thing? Well, it's equivalent. It's a little bit skinnier, but a little bit wider than my last inverter. But I really like that matte black and the teal on the sides, you know? It looks so good. Let's open this thing up and then let's install it. Come against my first issue. Now, it fits nicely up into the space where the old inverter did. Of course, it's got to be on its side, just like the old inverter was. And a problem with that is it only comes with 2 top mounting brackets, no bottom bracket. I'm hoping that in the next version of this that they'll fix that, but in the meantime, a little drill hole in there and I've got myself a bottom bracket. Honey, you gotta stay away from the drills, they're very dangerous, okay? All right, we're almost done here. I'm gonna tie up this wiring once this is all bolted in and done, but I really wanna draw your attention, if you haven't paid attention to this, any kind of like wired in inverter these days also comes with a solar charge controller. So I'm wiring up the starboard side Renogy flexible panels, that's 400 watts of flexible panels up to this guy, and I'll be able to use it as both a charge controller, but that is vastly underusing it because this thing is rated for 80 amps. This could feasibly replace my 2 Midnight Classics up there, and I could run everything basically through this. So that's why these new ones are so exciting, because everything runs to one box, and it makes communication so much simpler. It makes checking up on your system, getting all the stats out of your system so much simpler. You don't have to worry about compatibility because it's all in one freaking box. How nice is that? All right, I'm gonna finish bolting this in and we'll give it a test run. Oh, and also there, another weird thing is the grommet for the solar hasn't been cut yet. So you just gotta come in here with a knife and not put it through your finger. right, look at that. It's back. All right, I'm excited about this inverter. I'm excited to play guinea pig for you guys because I've seen these all-in-one inverters and it's the new normal now, right? And Renogy's got one of the most affordable 48 volt ones on the market. There are some fly-by-night eBay gigs, but they ain't this. Like this comes with Renogy's actual warranty. So this is less than half the price of my last inverter, and its surge power is a full 3,000 watts above what the surge power on the other one was. Now the other one had split phase and this one doesn't have split phase, so that is one shortcoming. And there are a few other shortcomings compared to some of the nicer models on the market. The Bluetooth module is not included, so you have to buy that separate. It's 40 bucks, no big deal. I really like a Bluetooth module on all my electronics because it allows me not only to just check everything from my phone, which means I can do it in bed. It also allows the Raspberry Pi on my boat to connect to all the Bluetooth modules. Now that's really cool because I can remote to that Raspberry Pi and control it from anywhere, which means I can log in from anywhere to my computer, which can then access all the systems on the boat. So definitely something that I'll be diving in an upcoming episode. In the meantime, I'm going to keep testing this guy and see if there's any other shortcomings that you guys should know about, because at that price, if it delivers everything it says it does, then shouldn't really even be a decision for you guys. Okay, I am going to share my first review so far. It's only been a few hours. I have been burning a crazy amount of power here on board because I'm just so excited to have an inverter after 2 months of having no AC power other than the little Blue Eddy packs. So I'm going a little ham, okay? And as a result, I've dipped below the voltage that I would have previously been able to with the old inverter. Now, this is a key point. A lot of the old inverters haven't been updated in 10 or 15 years and claim they can do a lot of modern things that they cannot. This inverter has a much wider voltage compatibility, and that is because it's designed to actually work with lithium. When it says it works with lithium, it actually does. It actually does. Right now I'm doing everything through this little tiny LCD programming screen on the device, which also, how great is that? Don't have to buy a separate device just to connect to my inverter and control it. Low voltage disconnect. You can set the range as low as 36 volts. How magic is that? So if you've got a lithium pack like mine, they're 12S lithium ion, then yes, 36? Is it 36? 3 volts times 12. Yes, it is 36 volts is my minimum voltage on my packs. A lot of them start disconnecting before that because they're not perfectly balanced. So they disconnect to like 36.2, 36.3. But either way, the point is I now have an inverter that actually gets to use all the power that's in my batteries. It shouldn't be a big deal, but between the two of them, we have Schneider claiming they can do something they can't, huge mega corporation, and we have Renogy claiming they can do something, and they can. I'm impressed, and I'm happy, and I'm going to get back to watching my Netflix. All right, this is the not very glamorous part of my life, but I have had batteries sitting in my storage unit forever. And I've been running basically off of 1.5 of these guys, which is 3 separate batteries. It gives me a total of just about 2.5 kilowatt hours of battery storage, which is a lot by like, you know, most boat standards, enough to like get by on. But I am used to, like, the original pack was originally rated for 20 kilowatt hours, which is basically like a Nissan Leaf. Now, as you remember, I dumped this entire battery set in the ocean, fried all the BMSs that were on it, so I stripped them, cleaned them, and shoved them into storage. I got a couple of them running, but I didn't get all of them running again. Part of it was the shock of it fried a few cells, so now I'm in here knocking cells out. I've got my little power wedge, and then I use a series of popsicle sticks to break the epoxy that holds it onto the cooling tab, and then I get a cell set balanced capacity is kind of very as close as I can get them, so that each of these 12 cells has as close to the same capacity as possible. And then I use some Sikaflex, glue them back in, then bolt this thing back on, and then bolt up this octopus of a freaking, you know, one of these guys. So I've got leads for every single cell, which runs over to my BMS modules, and then I bolt on these new little waterproof BMS modules. And that is just a basic lithium ion pack. Like, there's no heat sensors in these, there's no heaters, low sensor, high sensor, none of that. All it does is balance and keep the cell's voltage in the right area. So, not exactly sophisticated, but I'm building these all myself, and these were what I basically learned how to do all this stuff on. So if I was going to start over again now, I'd go for lithium iron phosphate and do it a bit differently, and maybe put some heater cores on it or whatever. Like, but as it is, I've got a bunch of lithium sitting in my workshop, and it might as well be sitting in my boat doing its damn job. So cue 2 or 3 days of just sitting at this table and screwing things in. Alright, so it's been a few days. I've had the chance to charge my batteries with the Bluetti pack, just plugging that into the AC input. I've also charged it with a generator. I've got just short of its maximum capacity on charging, and it charges quite nicely. It doesn't need to be up to like 40. The other system had to be up to like 42 volts before it would even start charging on the AC circuit, which of course is very inconvenient if your batteries are dead. This one will actually run all the way down to the minimum voltage of my battery bank and charge from the minimum voltage of my battery bank. There is a automatic off switch which you can set by voltage, which of course the other inverter didn't have. So I now had a system in where the generator would go into idle mode but wouldn't turn off the generator because it's not hooked up for that. There is a hookup for that. Anyway, point is, what actually fried my last system was that the voltage just kept climbing, and it went all the way up to 100 volts, fried the inverter, and luckily didn't fry anything else because everything else in the system was set up to handle up to 100 volts. But the inverter was not. I'd also really like to see a feature where I could be charging at the maximum output of that power source and not use any bypass powers. But I did go and buy the BT2 Bluetooth module, so I'm going to go install that, load up the app, and then see if I can tweak more from the app than just through the LCD screen. Alright, I'm trying to get the Renogy software on here. There's actually quite a few Renogy apps, so I'm going to dig through a few of them and let you guys know which one works best. Alright, so I tried both apps. The only one that seems to actually work with my setup is the DC Home one. It's not well reviewed on the App Store, and that got me kind of hesitant already. And I load up the app, and I mean, it's not terrible. Like, it's usable. And it shows all relevant information, just like the basic overview, but doesn't allow me to change any settings. And I would have expected more from an inverter, right? So it would be nice to be able to log in and actually change settings on my inverter remotely, do reset stuff and stuff like that. Instead, I get battery voltage, inverter output stuff, watts, volts, amps, hertz. I can check on all the solar coming in. And that's pretty much it. That's fine. And it'll also tell me if shore power is on, which is I guess useful for some folks, but yeah, I don't know, like, I'm not loving it. If you compare that to Victron's app, now I have a little Victron 48 volt 20 amp MPPT charge controller in there. I load up the device. It takes a little bit longer to load than the Renogy one, but inside I get way more information, and I can open up settings and just change absolutely everything. Now, to be fair, Victron's Bluetooth unit is built into it, and it's designed to be used by Bluetooth. So the app really is the whole welcome screen and everything you'll ever use. With that particular solar charge controller, there's no buttons on the exterior at all, so you're tweaking everything through the app. So they're expecting you to do that. Renogy, on the other hand, has an LCD in the front of their unit. You can do everything through that, and I've not had any problems. I won't say it's like super nice to use, because it is kind of a old basic LCD, but you know what, I don't mind them using a cheap little LCD with cheap little buttons, because I'm only tweaking the settings every once in a while, and otherwise I'm not looking at it at all. So it's not something I have to interact with on a day-to-day basis. Once it's set, it's good. Just leave it there, and that's fine. Now, I would like to see them do a little bit more with the app, because it's kind of unique how they have Bluetooth modules that are compatible with all kinds of units, all kinds of things that they sell. Batteries, solar charge controllers, inverters. They have these Bluetooth modules, can work with all of them. There's 2 different units that are compatible with some, and some are compatible with others. But anyway, the point is that they've got this whole communication thing that could be amazing. They just need a little bit more UI, and then it would be amazing. Right now on Renogy's site, this inverter is $764.99, which is right around the ballpark of those cheap fly-by-night eBay inverters that do the same thing but will burn your house down. There are a few things at that price that I would like to see them improve on. That's why I didn't give them a full 10 out of 10. One is the mounting hardware. Just put an extra tab at the bottom of the case so that it's solidly mounted to the wall, not just with these 2 little bolts at the top. I want a 3rd or maybe a 4th one so that it's fully attached. I would like to see the switch that comes with it is fine. Sell the Bluetooth module separately, maybe even increase the price of that Bluetooth module, but if you're going to, I would like to see a second module that gives me an LCD screen that is actually representative of all the data that's coming in, because it's an all-in-one inverter. It does everything. So feasibly, I would be buying this thing and nothing else. So if I'm going to do that, I want a control panel that I can look at that actually gives me all the information I need to make sure that my system is running fine, that the solar is all coming in fine. But, you know, charge separately for it, whatever. Bluetooth module, same story. Guys, put a little bit more R&D into that app. It is awful. It would be really cool to, and I think it's great to have that separate Bluetooth module, because I don't think it's for everybody, but maybe increase the price on it a little bit and then take that money and spend it on some good app developers. I would just like to be able to change settings. I would like it to be a little bit more seamless. Victron's got a great one for their units, but of course they're purpose built for that, so I understand, but still, come on, it's 2022. Let's get some good apps going. It doesn't come with split phase, and at the price, I don't really expect it to, but you know, just something to consider. A separate voltage converter is about 200 bucks, which I've already put in order so that I can run my welder on board. And yeah, as for the solar performance, it's got a voltage range for your solar array, so it's like 65 to 150 volts, which is kind of normal. It's kind of your baseline larger solar charge controller, but just something to consider if you're wiring up a system. Like I've got these 4 panels, I had to make sure that I put them all in series. I cannot put them in parallel, they're not going to work that way. So in order to get the voltage high enough to actually charge the pack, had to be in series. Just something to consider. Also, over days, I've had the Victron 20 amp MPPT solar charge controller, and I've had this inverter on the same panels on opposite sides of the boat, and kind of comparing it day to day, I found no voltage difference. I've seen some reviews online that claim that it doesn't function as well. I haven't seen that. I'd also love to see a setting where they can disable bypass. Now, for those of you who don't know, the bypass is when you're plugging into a separate AC support, like a generator, portable battery pack, or just, you know, a grid power, that it bypasses the power to your loads directly. Now, that is a fine feature to have, but in some scenarios, like small generators and small battery packs, it is detrimental because I will have the system running and suddenly a refrigerator will decide to turn on and it pulls too much power and shuts down my battery pack and I have to start everything all over again. It would be just nice to be able to turn off bypass, and there is no way of turning off bypass as it stands right now. There are several different modes for charging, but none of them allow you to turn off bypass, which is a shame. But yeah, 9 out of 10. If you guys are interested in checking out, I'm going to leave a link in the description. I do want to state that I did not pay for this inverter, that I got it for free from Renogy, but they're not paying me to make this review, and I'm so broke that had I not convinced them to send it out, don't tell them, but I totally would have bought it anyways. So I don't think it changes too much about my review. I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy that I'm able to use all the power out of my battery bank. I'm really happy that I'm done with that Schneider freaking inverter and that everything is running a lot smoother here on the boat now. So thank you so much to Renogy for sending it out. Thank you guys for putting up with this long video as I'm diving way too into an inverter that I am passionate about, and I'm sure not too many other people are. But very stoked to have AC power back on board and for everything to be running smoothly again. Not that you've noticed, not that you even care. You're just snoozing, eh? All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.